People love to talk about how mothers know best, how they'd crawl through broken glass for their children, how there's no love stronger than a mother's love. I used to believe that. I believed it with the same blind faith kids use to believe Santa is real or that their parents will always choose them over everything else, because for a long time my mother was the sun. When she walked into a room, everyone adjusted themselves around her. Friends, family, neighbors, even my father when he was still around. She wasn't loud. She didn't scream. She didn't slap or throw dishes or punish. No, she was gentle, sweet, soft-spoken. The worst kind of manipulator is the one who can look you in the eyes and say, "I'm doing this for your own good," and make you thank them for it. I didn't know that when I was 12. I just knew she cried a lot in front of other people. She'd clutch tissues, dab her eyes, say, "It's so hard raising a son without help, but I do my best," and people would nod, hug her, offer her rides, give her discounts at the corner store. Every drop of sympathy was fuel, not for survival, for praise. When I turned 18, I was supposed to leave. College, new city, new start. My acceptance letter was taped to the fridge like a trophy. The first Hale kid to go to university. The one teachers whispered about. "He's so smart. He'll go far. That one has potential." You know what my mother said? She cupped my cheek and whispered, "This home is always open if you fail." It sounded supportive, so gentle. I didn't hear the second half. "If you succeed, you won't need me anymore." Then the accident happened. One minute I was sprinting down the court. The next I was on the floor screaming. A spinal infection followed. Weeks in the hospital. Pain that made me grind my teeth until they cracked. The doctors said it would take months to recover, that some nerve damage might stay, that walking would be slow, difficult, that I wouldn't play again, that I might need assistive devices, that I should prepare for a new kind of life. I was 19. My friends came to visit once. Then life moved on without me. College vanished. Scholarships gone. Dorm room reassigned. But my mother, she was there every day. Every morning she'd say, "Don't worry, you'll get through this. I'm here for you. You need your mother now." She was smiling as she said it, always smiling, as if my tragedy was her opportunity. The first check from disability came when I turned 20. I didn't even know I qualified. I filled out forms because the hospital recommended it. I thought it would help with therapy costs. $612. Not a lot, not enough to live on, but enough to breathe. Mom picked me up from the mailbox that day. She hugged me so tight I could barely inhale. "Oh, sweetheart," she murmured, "now you don't have to worry about failing. Not about healing, not about independence, not about walking again, about failing." She drove us home humming along to the radio, hands light on the wheel, eyes brighter than they'd been in months. Looking back, I know why. That check didn't feel like help to her. It felt like income. The first time she took it, it didn't feel like stealing. We were sitting at the kitchen table. She made tea, just the way I liked it. Honey, not sugar. Exactly 1 ice cube. She said, "Let me handle the rent and groceries, okay? It'll take stress off your shoulders." It was the first time she'd ever used that tone. Motherly, responsible, adult. I was grateful. I was scared. I was weak and 20 and angry at my body for betraying me. So I nodded. Okay. She hugged me, and I thought, I'm lucky to have her. That was the moment she won. Not because she took my card, but because I gave it to her willingly. You don't notice a cage being built if the bars go up one at a time. The first bar was sympathy. The second was paperwork. The third was guilt. It didn't start with her demanding anything. It started with her praising herself. She'd sit on the couch and sigh at night. "I sacrifice everything for him. I don't know why he doesn't appreciate me more." Never said to me. Always said where I could overhear. Always just loud enough to reach my bedroom. If she saw tears in my eyes, she'd hug me and whisper, "It's okay. You'd be lost without me. I'll never let you fall." And when you're young, broken, disabled, watching your body betray you, you cling to anyone who says they won't let you fall, even if they're the ones pushing you off the edge. I didn't realize the trap until the day I got stronger. Not healed, not cured, just stronger. I could walk farther. I could shower alone. I could make dinner without leaning against the counter. A little independence is dangerous to a person who feeds on your dependence. And my mother, she was starving. It was a rainy afternoon, 2 years into disability checks. I'd just come home from therapy, leg brace squeaking, crutch tapping quietly against the wood floor. Mom was waiting in the kitchen, laptop open, bills spread out like a poker hand. She didn't look up. She just said, "Rent's due." Not "welcome home." Not "how was therapy." Not "are you in pain." Just an invoice disguised as motherhood. I froze. Something in her voice shifted. Not loving, not nurturing, entitled. I leaned the crutch against the table. "What rent?" I asked. She finally looked at me, like I was stupid, like I was ungrateful. "The rent I've been covering," she said, "for the last 2 years. Do you think living here is free?" It hit me like a punch. Not the demand, the word, rent. I felt my stomach twist. But I started. She cut me off with a shrug. "It's your disability check," she said. "Don't make me feel guilty for using it." That was the moment. Everything I'd ignored for years, every hint, every sigh, every tear she weaponized, clicked into place. She didn't want a son. She wanted revenue, not love, leverage. People ask me now, "When did you realize she didn't love you?" I tell them, it wasn't when she took my money. It was when she called it rent. Because that was the first time she said out loud what I'd been too afraid to think. I wasn't her child. I was her paycheck. There's something you learn when you grow up disabled. People stop seeing your choices. They start seeing your limitations. And the most dangerous people in your life are the ones who turn those limitations into leverage. My mother didn't ask for my money in the beginning. She asked for control. After she called it rent, she changed. Little things at first. The tea she used to brew for me? Gone. "Make it yourself," she'd say. "You're not helpless." Dinner? Don't expect a home-cooked meal every night, even when I could barely stand long enough to heat soup. Therapy? "You should be grateful I'm driving you. You know gas isn't free." She went from caretaker to collector, from mother to landlord. And every time I protested, even gently, she would tilt her head with that quiet little smirk and say, "I thought you said you were grateful." That sentence was a knife, because in her mind, gratitude meant compliance. Gratitude meant silence. Gratitude meant paying a debt I never owed. The first time she weaponized my disability against me, it was a Wednesday. I had a follow-up appointment for nerve imaging, the kind that costs 2 bus rides, 3 hours of waiting, and a doctor who talks to you like you're half asleep. I came home exhausted, legs shaking from fatigue, brace pinching at the calf bone. Mom was sitting on the couch scrolling through her phone. She didn't even look up. "Transfer the money," she said. I blinked. "What money?" She sighed dramatically, the way actors do when they want applause. "Your disability came in this morning," she said. "You know the routine." Routine, like breathing, like brushing teeth, like being exploited. I stood there, leaning on my crutch, feeling weaker from the question she asked than from the hour I'd spent on an MRI table. "I want to see how much went to groceries," I said carefully. "You said last month." She looked up slowly, and I swear, her face went flat, like the little mask she wore slipped off for 1 second. "What I spend is none of your business," she said. "None of my business. My money, my body, my disability, none of my business." I laughed, stunned. It just slipped out, a short, pathetic sound. She stood. "You listen to me," she said, pointing at the floor like I was a dog. "You don't get to live in my house, eat my food, use my water, take my cleaning, and tell me what I can do with my money. It's not your money," I whispered. Her eyes sharpened. "It is if I'm the one providing you a life." And there it was, the truth, naked and ugly. In her eyes, my disability checks weren't mine. They were proof she could buy ownership of me. The real betrayal didn't come with yelling. It came with silence. It came with her pretending my body was broken. But her bank account was the one healing. One day, 2 months into this rent arrangement, I overheard her talking on the phone again. She was in the kitchen, door slightly ajar, voice hushed but clear. "Yeah, of course I get checks for him. How else am I supposed to cover the expenses? No, it's not like I spend it all on him. I have to treat myself sometimes. I deserve it." I froze. My hands shook. My leg twitched involuntarily. Because treat myself could mean anything. Nails, hair appointments, dinners, or the gold necklace she bought last winter and said was a birthday present to herself. I waited until she hung up. I didn't ask her about it. I didn't storm in. I didn't cry. I just stood there with my mouth dry and thought, she thinks I'm a disability program, not a son, not a human being, a monthly payout. People think the darkest betrayals are loud. No, they are bored conversations. Silent transfers. Moments where someone who claims to love you counts your worth in dollars and decimals. It kept going. She started timing my arrivals. If I went to therapy alone, I'd come home to her waiting by the door. "Did you walk too much? Will that affect next month's check?" If I tried to cook, "Be careful. Don't injure yourself. We don't need a reduction." If I mentioned trying for a job, "That's risky. Employment can disqualify disability. Think before you act." It wasn't concern. It was fear of losing the guarantee, a guaranteed payment for someone else's pain. One evening, when I was feeling brave, I sat next to her on the couch. Mom was scrolling through her phone, always scrolling. Even now I can hear the soft flick of her thumb. "Can I see the bank transactions?" I asked. Her thumb froze. "What?" "I just want to know what the disability checks are covering." She stared at me for a moment too long. Then she laughed. A tiny, humorless giggle. "Oh honey," she said, "where did you get this idea that you're entitled to question me?" Entitled? I was entitled to ask about my own money. She leaned back, smoothed her hair, and delivered the line she'd clearly been waiting to use. If I didn't do this, you'd be homeless. Not helping, not supporting, saving me from homelessness. In her mind, she was a saint, a hero, a martyr, and I was a burden who should kneel and say thank you. 2 hours later, I heard her laughing in the bathroom on speakerphone. I recognized my aunt's voice. I know it's a small check, Mom said, but it adds up. Rent, groceries, gas. I deserve a break, a beat. Plus, he doesn't even need friends. He has me. My body went rigid. He doesn't need friends. He has me. That's when I understood. She didn't want me independent. She wanted me isolated, because isolation makes ownership easy. The next morning, she asked me if I could send her the login for my disability account. Why? I asked. So I don't have to bother you every month. So she wouldn't have to ask. So there'd be no moment of friction, no chance for me to think. I looked at her, tilting my head like I was confused. But inside I felt something cold and solid take shape. Not anger, not yet. Resolve. I smiled gently. I'll think about it. She grinned, eyes glittering. Good boy. She walked away humming, and I whispered to myself, you think you own me. She didn't hear me, but I knew. One day she would. There's a moment in every abusive relationship when the roles quietly flip. You stop being the victim they help and become the victim they depend on. I didn't realize I had crossed that line until the day I used the word no. It wasn't even a dramatic no. Not a slammed door, not a rebellion. Just a soft, tired no. It happened at the kitchen counter. Mom slid her phone across the table with her banking app open. Transfer your check, she said. Not please. Not can you. Not when you have a moment. Just an order. I looked at her and said, I'll do it later. Her face changed like I had insulted her in public. The mask slipped. Her lips flattened. Her eyes went cold. I don't like your tone, she said. My tone, I repeated. You sound ungrateful. Ungrateful. That word, the one she pulled like a gun from a holster. Not sad, not hurt, not disappointed. Ungrateful. Ungrateful meant, you owe me. Ungrateful meant, you should suffer for making me wait. Ungrateful meant, how dare you think your body belongs to you. She stood up, crossed her arms, and tilted her head like a manager firing an employee. I cook, she said. You microwave leftovers, I replied. I clean. Once a week, I muttered. I drive you. I can order Uber, I said. Her nostrils flared. Oh really? She spat. With what money? I didn't respond. Not because I didn't know the answer, but because I finally understood the game. She didn't help me out of love. She helped me to justify taking every ride, every grocery bag, every appointment, a receipt, and every receipt was a rope she tied around my neck. When she realized later was not immediate, she escalated. Not shouting, not threats. No, she weaponized guilt. She walked into my room that night holding a framed photo of us from when I was 8 years old. We were at the park. I was smiling, missing 2 front teeth. She was kneeling behind me, arms around me. She stared at the photo like she was at a funeral. You used to love me, she said. My stomach dropped. I still do, I replied slowly. But she closed her eyes, tears gathering perfectly at the edges, like she practiced in a mirror. I don't know where I went wrong, she whispered. I raised you alone. I gave up everything. I never complained. That was the trap. She wasn't describing reality. She was rewriting it. She left out every boyfriend who paid her bills, every aunt who watched me when she needed a weekend away, every cousin who picked me up from practice because she was hungover, every job she quit, every time I learned how to cook because she didn't feel like it. But she looked me dead in the eyes and delivered the punch. If I hadn't been there, you would have ended up on the street. Not I love you. Not I'm scared. Not we'll get through this. I saved you. You owe me. And there it was again. Debtors don't get autonomy. They get invoices. Every tear was a receipt. Every sob was interest. The next day, she escalated. I was in the bathroom brushing my teeth, trying to stretch my leg against the tile. She barged in without knocking. The check still hasn't hit my account. I spit toothpaste into the sink. It's still mine, I said. It hits my account first. Her eyes sharpened. You know I'm doing everything for you, she hissed. I don't have to. Do you understand that? I laughed. A genuine, exhausted laugh. No, Mom, you do it because I pay you to. Her face twisted. She slapped the doorframe. Not me, but hard enough to make me flinch. How dare you, she spat. After everything I've done, you spent my disability check on your hair and nails, I snapped. Silence. Her mouth dropped open. Not from guilt, from offense. You were still fed, she said. You had a roof. I deserve to treat myself sometimes. Deserve. She thought my pain was her salary. I stepped past her, crutch tapping on the hallway floor. Give me my debit card. She blinked like I'd spoken a different language. What? My disability card. She crossed her arms. That's not happening. It's mine. You're not responsible enough for finances. I stopped, turned. Say that again. You heard me, she sneered. You get confused. You forget things. Your mood swings. She was dismantling my mind the way she had dismantled my independence. Piece by humiliating piece. You're disabled. You're incompetent. You can't handle your own life. Give me the money. That night I didn't sleep. Not because I was scared, because I was thinking. Do disabled people think slower? No. Do disabled people owe their caretakers? No. Do disabled people lose their humanity the moment they need help? In her eyes, yes, that was her real belief. My disability wasn't a tragedy, it was her lottery ticket, and every month she scratched it. The last straw came quietly. The next morning I checked my bank app. 0, 0, 0. Rent, cable, phone bill, insurance. 3 withdrawals in the same day. No receipts, no explanation. I limped into the kitchen. She was humming, making coffee. What did you spend the check on? I asked. She didn't look up. Bills. What bills? She stirred sugar into her mug. The ones I said. I opened my mouth, and she said the words that killed whatever mother I thought she was. You're expensive, sweetheart. I deserve compensation. Compensation for birthing me, for feeding me, for tolerating me. In her mind, motherhood was a business, and disability, a revenue stream. That was the moment rage stopped being emotion and became clarity. I walked to my room, sat on my bed, and for the first time in 3 years, I started planning my escape. There is a certain kind of silence in a house where someone believes they own you. It's the silence right before the leash gets yanked. After I started planning to leave, I didn't tell her. I just lived differently. I started cooking my own meals. I took the trash out without being asked. I woke up early and practiced standing longer without the crutch. I organized therapy appointments on my own. Small things. But to someone who has grown fat from control, independence is starvation. At first, she pretended not to notice. The performative kindness came back. Do you need anything? Can I help you with that? Don't push yourself too hard, sweetheart. That was the bait. She wanted me to relapse into dependency, but I didn't take it, so she switched tactics. The first strike was financial. A week after my last disability payment, I checked my email. There was a notice from the electric company. Disconnected. Not overdue. Not warning. Not partial. Disconnected. I stumbled into the kitchen, holding my phone. Mom. What? She didn't look up from her mug. Oh, right, she said casually. I forgot to pay it. I stared at her. You had the entire check. She shrugged. I know. I used it on things I needed. I felt the kind of cold that doesn't come from weather. What things? She laughed. It was small, girlish, like she was 16 again and gossiping with friends. You don't get to interrogate me, she said. I'm not your employee. She took a sip of her coffee. But I am your caretaker, she added, and you should be grateful I still want to do that. The coffee mug sat between us like a threat. Something clicked inside me. Not anger, realization. She didn't forget to pay the bill. She turned the lights off to remind me who controlled the switch. When that didn't work, she escalated. 2 days later, she was waiting for me when I came home from therapy. Arms crossed, jaw set. She held up my phone. Why are you looking at apartments? My blood chilled. She had gone through my messages, my browser history, screenshots I'd saved of rentals. She waved the phone like a weapon. You really think you're moving out? I tried to take the phone from her. She pulled it away. Answer me, she demanded. My heart hammered. I can't live here forever, I said. She stepped closer. You can't live anywhere without me. Not advice, not fear, a threat. You can't cook. You can't shop. You can't walk in the snow. You can't do stairs. You can't manage a job. You can't keep friends. You can't even shower without that brace. She said it like she was listing groceries. Each sentence was a hammer hitting the same nail. You are incompetent. You are disabled. You are mine. I didn't yell. I didn't argue. I just met her eyes and said, I learned, and I had. I learned to stand, to endure pain, to walk without collapsing. She just never learned to accept it, because independence is the death of parasites. She tried a different approach the next week. She became nice, not genuinely kind, but that careful sugar glass kind of nice that shatters the first time you press on it. She brought me lunch while I stretched my leg. Chinese takeout, my favorite. She sat beside me like nothing had happened. Sweetheart, she said, I don't know why you're being so cold lately. We're a family. We're supposed to support one another. She set the food down gently. You'd be lost without me. The kind of line people say in movies when they're trying to brainwash someone. I stalled. Can I see the bank statements? Her smile vanished like a blown-out candle. Excuse me? You said you're paying bills with my disability check, I said. Show me. She leaned back, folding her arms. I don't owe you proof. I nodded slowly. Then I don't owe you money. Her face broke open into disbelief. You ungrateful little. She stopped herself. Her eyes hardened. She stood abruptly, grabbed both food containers, and dumped them into the trash. I hope you choke on your pride, she hissed. She slammed her bedroom door. The humiliation wasn't in the food, it was in the gesture. If she couldn't buy my gratitude, she'd starve it. The final blow came in winter. Snow piled up in the driveway. Ice crawled over the front steps. I put on my brace and went outside with a shovel. Slow, painful, one step at a time. I had barely cleared half the driveway when she came outside in her robe, arms crossed. What are you doing? She asked. Clearing the snow. She scoffed. You'll fall. Then I'll have to drive you to the ER like always. I kept shoveling. Each lift burned my thigh, but it felt like reclaiming my spine. She watched, waiting for me to fail, waiting for the slip, the fall, the bone break that would bring the leash back around my neck. When I didn't collapse, she snapped. I'm not paying for your medical bills if you break yourself. I rested the shovel against the ground. That's fine, I said. I'll handle it. She stared. No blink, no breath, just pure disbelief. She wasn't scared of me getting hurt. She was scared of me surviving without permission. Because if I could survive one winter snowstorm alone, what else could I survive? That night she tried one last tactic. She cried. Not quiet tears, not sadness, weaponized tears, sobs loud enough to echo down the hallway. I came out of my room expecting a fall or a panic attack. She was standing in the kitchen with the phone in her hand. I don't understand you, she wailed. What did I do wrong? Why are you punishing me? I stared at her, punishing her, by wanting my own life. She looked up at me, mascara streaked, voice trembling perfectly. I kept you alive, she whispered. I didn't give up like everyone else. I sacrificed everything for you. Her voice cracked. And you repay me by abandoning me. That's when I realized her final truth. She never saw me as her son. I was her investment, and she expected returns. And when investments leave, investors panic. There's a point in every abusive relationship where the abused stops apologizing and the abuser stops hiding. It happened 2 weeks after the snowstorm. 2 weeks after I refused to hand over the disability check. 2 weeks after she dumped food in the trash and tried to starve me out of gratitude. She thought she still owned me. She didn't know I'd already taken everything back. It started with a phone call. Not from her, from the disability office. A woman with a gentle voice asked, Mr. Hale, we're calling to confirm some expenses you listed for rent and utilities. I blinked. What expenses? She read off a list. Cable, phone, car insurance, rent. I felt the laugh forming in my chest before I could swallow it. I don't pay rent, I said. Silence. Then, are you living with a caretaker? Caretaker. The word burned. No, I said. I live with my mother. She takes the full check. Another pause. No breathing on the line. Then her voice changed. Measured. Professional. That's unauthorized use of disability benefits. And exploitation. The world snapped into focus. The woman continued. Is she your legal guardian? I let the quiet sit for a full 5 seconds. No. Her keyboard clacked. Then she cannot legally access your payments. My pulse hammered. What if the debit card is in her possession? That's theft, she said. Not a metaphor. Not a family issue. Legal. Criminal. Theft. My heart flipped. What should I do? Her voice softened. Tell us everything. We'll take it from there. I thought I would feel guilt. I didn't. I felt freedom. I told them about the rent, the utilities, the bank logins she demanded, the hair and nails and gas and dinners. I told them about how she called me ungrateful, how she monitored my spending, how she used my disability as a leash. The woman didn't interrupt. She just typed. At the end, she said, Thank you. We're opening a formal investigation. Expect a follow-up. She paused, as if debating her last words. Then, you deserve better than what she's done. For the first time in 3 years, I believed it. I didn't tell my mother. I waited. I watched. And while she continued her routines, scrolling her phone, waiting for deposits, sighing dramatically in the living room, I emptied my space. Clothes, paperwork, therapy bands, the brace I had trained myself to walk in without. I didn't pack with panic. I packed like a man moving into a new life. She noticed on the last day, I was wheeling a duffel bag down the hall. What's this? She snapped. I didn't answer. I opened the front door. Cold air hit her face. You're leaving, she demanded. Yes. Her voice rose, sharp like a breaking glass. You can't leave. You're not ready. I laughed. Not loud. Cold. I've been ready for a long time. You just didn't want me to know it. Her mouth twisted. I'll cut you off. You can't. It's mine. She inhaled sharply. You'll come crawling back. No, I said. You'll call and cry. She opened her mouth to curse me, but my phone buzzed. I turned it around. Government number. Her face drained of color. I answered. Mr. Hale, the woman from the disability office said, we've verified the unauthorized usage. Your benefits will be frozen immediately until reissued to your private address. I looked at my mother. Her eyes were wild, like prey that realized the cage door had swung shut. What do you mean frozen? My mother barked, grabbing for my phone. The woman continued. State officials will contact your mother. She may be required to repay funds. There are also penalties. My mother stopped breathing. Penalties, not apologies. Consequences. She whispered. No. I hung up. For the first time in 3 years, she was speechless. Not because she cared, because she lost control. She lunged. You can't do this to me. I sacrificed everything. I raised you. I deserve. I stepped back. No, I said. Calm. Final. You exploited me. You drained me. You called me rent. You called me expensive. Her lips quivered. I did what I had to. You stole from me and called it motherhood. She shook her head, trembling. You're ruining my life. I picked up my second bag. No, I said. You ruined mine. I'm just taking it back. The last thing I saw as I walked out was the look on her face. Not regret, not sorrow, fear. The system she weaponized, now aimed back at her. She thought karma was a myth, that cruelty was free, that sons with disabilities never bite back. She learned the truth. When you treat your child like a paycheck, you lose them like one. I didn't slam the door. I closed it gently. She deserved to hear every second of that final click. It sounded like a lock, but to me, it was a promise. The last check she stole was the last one she would ever see. And as I walked down the street with my duffel bag, brace clicking against the pavement, my phone buzzed again. Voicemail. My mother, crying. I didn't listen. I didn't answer. I never will.